Some may say that Sony Animation is the best animated studio this decade with hit after hit. Which is weird because Sony used to be one of the worst animated studios out there. So I figured, why not rank every Sony animated movie that came out this decade so far? Me. Now Fixed is exactly what the trailers show. Yes, the 2D animation is beautiful to look at and matches the vibe of the movie, and the voice actors do an incredible job at making this film more funnier than it should be. The trailers showed exactly what this movie is, an over-the-top R-rated comedy. I don't know why studios find the need that when something is R-rated and is animated, you have to make it the most R-rated thing you've ever seen. Because that's exactly what this movie tries to do. All of the humor is extremely forced into the movie. That's just not funny due to how forced into the movie it is. Yes, there's a segment at the end of the film that was the funniest part of the movie for me. But most of the movie tries to make you care for the story. About 70% of this movie is the story, while the last 30% of the movie is actually the humor you came for. So the entire movie is setting up the story that you do not care about just for this comedy forced at the end of it. Sony has been on a roll recently, so it sucks that they released a movie like this. To be fair, it was supposed to come out a while back but got delayed until it finally came out. So it makes sense why it's not on the tier of Across the Spider-Verse, K-Pop Demon Hunter, because it was supposed to come out a while ago. But for this movie being workshopped, delayed, until Netflix finally released it, there's nothing interesting in here. It's just another R-rated animated comedy that the studio finds the need to make it the most R-rated thing ever. All the comedy is for is a story you don't care about. There's nothing in this movie that you need to watch.
It's like Freaky Friday, but on a Tuesday, though.
You can quite clearly tell by this point that this franchise needed to die. They have no stories left to tell. The main theme of the movie, it feels like the characters have already learned that lesson movies ago. So it doesn't really have that much payoff when everything does wrap up, because it feels like the characters have already learned that lesson. I can say, this is a great conclusion. Well, not great. The movie's not good, but just the way the movie wraps up, it's satisfying enough for this franchise. This is another movie that was delayed. Thanks to COVID, it was delayed. I think it was supposed to come out this decade still, but it was still part of old Sony. It was not a part of new Sony. This is basically the aftermath left over of what old Sony used to be. And it's ending one of their most popular franchises that Sony used to have. But to be fair, I remember hating this movie a lot worse than I actually did. When I first watched it, it was one of the worst movies of the year. Now, although I do not think this movie is great or good, it's watchable. If you like this franchise, I feel like this movie still delivers on a lot of fun aspects, like the monsters being turned into human. But this is the aftermath of old Sony. So, it's tying a knot in not only Hotel Transylvania, but saying goodbye to old Sony. Sony is a better studio now, significantly. Let's appreciate it for that. As far as I can see, I got everything I need. Now there's a significant jump from Hotel Transylvania 4 to Wish Dragon. A lot of people can say that Wish Dragon is a ripoff of Aladdin. Because it is. A poor boy wants to get with a rich girl. That's Aladdin. And even certain plot beats that happen throughout this movie feels like it was straight ripped off from Aladdin. Now I can say, this is what if Aladdin was done in modern day. That's what Wish Dragon does feel like, a modern day version of Aladdin. And I do like that spin to this movie, and what makes it a lot more enjoyable. Although this movie, comparing it to Aladdin is not fair because they're both completely different qualities, Wish Dragon still has a lot to offer that I love. Sure, it can feel like a straight ripoff of Aladdin a lot of times. The main story that they added with the actual dragon in the movie and added more depth to the actual dragon is one of the things that makes this movie stand out more from Aladdin, is thanks to that extra layer you added to the dragon's story. Why is he granting these wishes on people? I love that aspect that they added. And since I love the story of Aladdin, this film still did work for me. Although it can feel like a ripoff, it's a ripoff done right. It does not 100% feel like Aladdin, it still feels like its own thing, it just has a lot of similar story beats to Aladdin. But real quick, if you want to help me reach my goal of 1K by the end of the year, consider subscribing. Let's continue.
That love, Gabriela? My love lives forever in your heart.
Now, although this film is not perfect, that could have changed a few things to make that emotional payoff more satisfying. This is just another example of how much Sony has improved. This is a film that, when watching it for the first time, I did not know what to expect and was very surprised with the final result. Overall, it feels like a Pixar movie, just not as emotional and done by Sony. Lin-Manuel Miranda is not only a great songwriter, but he is a great actor because he plays the main lead in this movie, and he did a great job at not only playing this character but writing the music of the movie. Now, it does feel a lot like Hamilton. The entire time I was thinking of how much this music actually sounds like Hamilton. Makes sense, he wrote it. But there's a lot of similarities with not only Lin-Manuel Miranda singing the song, so 10 times more like Hamilton, but just the vibe of the song feels like Hamilton, and that's most of his work. And the animation style finds a way to match the tone of the movie, which I love that about Sony this decade. Every single movie they made except Hotel Transylvania 4, the movie has matched that animation style. The animation style has matched the tone of the movie. Cross the Spider-Verse feels like a comic. K-Pop Demon Hunter, Fixed. All of it still feels like the movie, but you're doing a creative style with the animation, making the movie feel like you can only tell this story through this style, through animation. And I was completely surprised with how much heart was actually in this movie. Like I said, it feels like a Pixar movie because those last 20 minutes and those first 20 minutes really tug on your heartstrings. Now, they could have done a lot more to make that emotional payoff a lot more satisfying, but in the sense of it, it's a Pixar movie, but done by Sony. I completely loved what they did with Vivo.
Why would someone build that?
I just love the idea of this film. You take a concept of the world is ending, robots are taking over the entire world, but you have this family who are the last ones left on Earth, and they have no idea what they're doing. They're just your average family, and they're about to save the planet. That is such a creative idea for a movie. They had this theme over here, they had this story over here, and they decided to combine those two things together to make Mitchells vs. the Machines. And it's a movie that seriously anyone could relate to. Because it's such a family-central movie, every single family is like this. That's why it's so relatable. That's why all these different ideas are touched upon, because it's a movie made for everyone. It's a movie where the theme is centered around family, and not every family is perfect. Everyone has something that stands out most about their family, and this movie tackles that theme of your family is your family for a reason. They're still your family. And what better way to prove that by ending the world with a robot invasion? What a smart idea. I always find that creative. And like always, the animation style matches the vibe in the movie. It fits perfectly, like Sony's animation movies have been doing this decade. This film checks off all the boxes it needs to, and anyone can appreciate it.
And then I looked at my uncle and...
let me guess. He died?
Now, some people may be completely shocked that I have K-Pop Demon Hunters over Across the Spider-Verse, but my reason is pretty valid. Like the first film, it does get a lot right with the Spider-Man character, this time with bigger stakes. The animation is also a huge improvement from the original film. You can seriously take any frame from this movie and display it on the wall. That's how good this film looks. I could take a picture of even the black screen and still display it, and it will still look good. They did not hit with the animation, and Beyond is only going to make the animation 10 times better. And let's not forget the creative decision to change the animation every single universe you're in. The animation not only looks like a comic book, but they found a creative way at making the animation change every single universe they are in. Every single universe is different because of the animation style. So creative. And let's just say, Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to be absolutely insane, and the hype has been building out for 4 years by the time that movie comes out. Everyone's going to be excited for the conclusion. This is going to be a fantastic trilogy. But it's not yet a completed story, and that's the main reason why K-Pop Demon Hunter is above it. Because it's not a finished story. We don't know how the story concludes. I'm only reviewing the first half of the story. It's not like I have the full story right here in front of me. Maybe once Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, my opinion will change. Most definitely. But right now, since we don't know how the story ends, it's kind of hard to rank this higher than K-pop. But we are about to get an insane ending and the perfect trilogy in 2027. I cannot wait. It's finally gonna come eventually.
You're all I can think of. Every drop I drink up. You're my soda pop, my little soda pop.
After rewatching this film, it is a perfect 5 out of 5 for me. Not only does the hype on social media, even 2 months later, still exist, but it's a movie that has a specific style and a specific niche. It's not trying to appeal to everybody because it has a specific niche and it knows this audience and is not trying to change that. Every single song in this movie is extremely catchy and extremely good. Even 2 months later, I am still listening to this music. Part of that is because social media is not getting rid of it for me, but another part of that is every time I open Spotify, I have to at least listen to one of the songs in this movie because it's so good. This is a film that completely worked for me, although it cannot work for everybody in the world. It's a film that extremely worked for me. Songs are catchy, animation is still as beautiful as always for a Sony animated movie. The only bad thing about this movie is that it didn't get a theatrical release, and even then, it's coming in theaters next weekend for a sing-along edition, which already sold out. This film is a massive event, just proving even more that Sony Animation is the king of animation right now. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the side ones to you too. Like, subscribe, see you guys next time. Goodbye.